Welcome to the Pastor Chira Show. I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new relationship. We launch into new mindset. We launch into new territory. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into this conversation. So we are being joined today by one of our favorite guests, and she is none other than Elder Crystal Knight. Yay! Yay! And she is now, I'm so glad, I'm so happy that she has agreed to be one of our segment guests. So we can talk about some of the things concerning ministry and the church and leadership, because she has been doing this for a way long time. So, hi, Elder. Hi, Pastor Crystal. How are you?
Hi there.
Yes. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's awesome.
Glad to be here.
I know,
Hi,
right?
everybody.
This is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do. I'm so excited that you were here, but everyone doesn't know who you are. So how about you just introduce yourself to the viewing audience?
Right. Sure. How's everyone doing tonight? Or however, wherever you're watching us from, you may be on a different time frame. But greetings to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Elder Crystal Knight, and I am a mom, and I am an ordained elder in the Lord's Church. And I also have a nonprofit. I'm the president and founder of Sadaka House Inc. So I kind of wear many hats professionally. My background is in HR. But overall, I'm Crystal, and I'm glad to be here with Pastor Chira.
Because this is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. And yes, we are being seen all over the place. So it can be anytime, anywhere, right? We're in the afternoon, but we have all kinds of times all over the place. So, we're like tonight. So it's tonight somewhere. But we are sitting here and we are having these conversations. We've had so many conversations over the years, and I'm just glad that we are able to come and not just keep them between ourselves, you and I, but to share them, because I think the things that we talk about and we bounce off of one another a lot of times are also helpful to others. And it can be helpful to others. With you being in a leadership role that you have been in for so many years, you have had a lot of hats. Like you said, you wear a lot of hats now, but you've worn several hats over the years. Being a youth pastor, a youth leader, and just, being there for others. Traveling all over, being with different ones in different reformations and in different organizations. You've seen a lot. What are some of the nuggets that you have taken from all of your experience of being a leader in the Lord's church?
I think I'm probably going to mix both professionally in the secular world as well as in the church. I think you have to have a heart for the people. Your ability to lead is you recognize one that you have to have a heart for people, and there has to be a passion for you to do what you do, because what you do is a representation of God and the work that He's called you to do. And not only that, but you're an influence, both in all aspects, and that could be good as well as bad, because as well as there are successes or failures, you have your good moments and you have your bad, but you are a representation of that, and people look to you to be able to lead them, and it's all about influencing and bringing a group of people.
Mhm.
Not everyone is the same, and you're bringing them for a common purpose, and that's just to achieve a goal, whatever that goal may
Right.
be. And
Right.
I think if you don't have a heart for the people, that makes a difference, because people are not going to lead follow folk. I put it that way, that just don't care about them, and
Right.
so it makes a difference when you have a heart. And I believe that's one of the major things, is that you have to have a heart for people.
You do. And I think you said a couple things because
Hmm.
there are different ones that we will need to lead, right?
Hmm.
Especially in, whether we're talking about in business, right, in our professional worlds, or in ministry and in church and in kingdom, we're going to come across different ones. And I
Right.
can have a heart for people, but
Hmm.
there might be some people that I might not like so much. Even
Okay.
though I have a heart for people and I have a heart to help and to be there and to, you know what I'm saying, to undergird,
Hmm.
there are times when there are those that come into our leadership that we don't
Hmm.
necessarily like. And that happens at work and it happens in church because in both
Hmm.
places, like, so in employment, we're employing those that have the skills, right?
Hmm.
And they have the talents, they have the gifts, they have the talents, they have the skills, right? They have what it
Right.
takes to do the job. But their personality might not gel with everybody else.
Yes.
And it's the same in church. When they come into the ministry, they might have the
Hmm.
gifts, right? They might have the things that are needed to help us get to that next place.
Right.
But we might not like them so much. They might not gel, but they still
Hmm.
have the things that are needed.
Hmm.
And how do we, on both sides, like, how do we
How do we
deal with
do that?
that?
Yeah. And I think, one, we should take that as a leadership opportunity. Um, because when we find that there are people that may not be to our liking, or they're difficult to work with, um, and most of the time, I believe that people are who they are based on life experiences, what may have happened to them. There's a reason for their behaviors. We may not understand what those
Mhm.
reasons are. Um, there are reasons why people may do what they do on the job. And let's just say you're a new boss and you have no clue, but you inherited an attitude over here, or somebody who seems to be lazy. How do you
Mhm.
tackle all of that? And I know one thing is that it's an opportunity for you, one, to assess, and then once you assess, you also have to engage, meaning that you have to have that one on one. Sometimes it does take you to just say, "Hey, let's just talk for a minute." You
Right.
know, I'm noticing X, Y, and Z. You're excellent at doing such and such, but maybe you're not a people person, or
Mhm.
you're a wonderful people person, but you tend to excuse certain behaviors, and you allow things to be late, and we need you to be a little bit more assertive, or whatever. So sometimes it's an opportunity for you to make an assessment, acknowledge that there is something that's not right, so to speak, and how do we correct the behavior,
Mhm.
and then understanding what's causing the behavior. I'll use this for an example real quick. We had someone on the job. I mean, this person is good at what they do. They just was
Right.
not a people person. No one liked them. Nobody wanted to work with that person. But we knew that they were skilled at what they do.
Right.
And we couldn't replace the skill set. So what
Right.
we had to do was say, look, how about we talk to the person
Mm-hmm.
and help them with their people skills, meaning that's coach them, put them in a class that will help change those behaviors. It may not change overnight. It may
Right.
change only a little bit, but at the end of the day, we were able to relate to that individual when it came to doing the job, and we knew that she would be able to do it well. But what we did was we helped to enhance or correct or change the behaviors that needed to be worked on. And I
Right.
believe it's the same thing in church. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
everybody doesn't come in. Most people may have a relationship with Christ, others may not.
Right.
Most people come from a crazy background, and that has a lot to do with the way that they are. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to deal with them when they themselves don't even know how to deal with themselves and where they are. So it can be difficult, but it's the job of that leader to really probably take a moment, assess it, pray,
Yeah.
ask for
Yeah.
guidance,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe just sit down and talk to that individual and find
Mm-hmm.
out, hey, we noticed this. Why is it? What can we do? You know what I
To
mean?
help.
And it's a
Mm-hmm.
chance and an opportunity to be able to help. Yeah,
Yep. It
that's how I
is.
would see it.
Like, because I had somebody similar in the
Mm-hmm.
work environment, because what happened was, like, they're someone who is phenomenal. I mean, when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
like spreadsheets and putting things together and doing data analysis and things like that, I mean, incredible. But they were in a management position and they could not talk to people, and none of us
Mm-hmm.
wanted to deal with them. Like, but
Yeah.
and it didn't come from leadership though. It came from those of us
Mm-hmm.
that worked with them. And
Okay.
sometimes I think those of us on the team, if
Mm-hmm.
we're able to communicate as well. So, from a leadership
Absolutely.
perspective, like, there are some things that I don't, sometimes I think leaders don't even know how to approach. But if we have the right
Mm-hmm.
team members, because we were able to be like, you know, we know you want this position, leading people,
Mm-hmm.
but you are phenomenal with da 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 da. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and just making sure. And I think management saw, and what they did was they made sure that they had projects where they were the lead and they had those things to do. And when it came to the data analysis, all of us were able to accept that, because they were doing their work and then bringing their
Mm-hmm.
skill. And I think even
Mm-hmm.
in ministry, that's something that we need to look at. Really
Right.
making sure that teams and those that are
Mm-hmm.
on the team are in a good communication, so
Mm-hmm.
that we all bring what is good to the table to make the team strong, and not
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
one part, but it makes the team strong.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think these are some things that we need to look at in ministry and in building ministry. But we're going to go to a commercial break. And on the other side, we're going to tap into a couple of other things of how we deal with and how we manage dealing with those that we may not want to.
Yeah.
We will be right back.
You can join us virtually or at the church, located at 458 East Rittenhouse Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
We are back, and we are talking with Elder Crystal Knight, and we're talking about difficulties in managing in ministry. Because we have some difficulties in managing in ministry. And it's really managing people. Because ministry really is about managing people. How do we recognize in ourselves whether we have a heart for people or if there are some that we just don't have a heart for?
That is
Does that
a
make
very
sense?
good question. No, it does make sense. Because um, I think for me, I'll use me for an example, and I'm sure there's probably multiple answers out there. Um, I think most people, first of all, to work with people requires patience. It requires strategy. It requires you to be able to embrace and accept people for who they are and where they are, and not for what you perceive them to be or would like for them to be. Um, Everyone is different. Everyone's attitude is different. Everyone's skill sets are different. The way people think. So it's no more different than you being within a household and you have your brother, your sister, your siblings, your parents, you have your other family members. Everyone is different. And you'll come to learn that you you may click with one person, gel with them really well, and then someone else you're like, maybe because they're a little rough around the edges for you. You know what I mean? So the question is can we look beyond all of that and still accept people for where they are and who they are? And from a leadership perspective, understanding what my role is and my responsibility for the people that I'm responsible for, if we're striving to become, we're striving to grow. In this case, if it's a pastor who's responsible for leading the sheep, the church, towards spiritual maturity, preparing them for the return of Christ, helping them as they navigate through life and still behave in such a way that's Christ-like. You know what I mean? You're living that life that's supposed to be Christ-like. So when you look at the overall goal and objective this is what I'm here to do. No, I'm not going to be friends with everybody. No, I'm not going to gel or click with everyone. I may have my run-ins here and there, but your ability to be able to navigate through all that literally relies on you to totally rely on God. And not everybody is called to do that. And so, as the scripture would say, is make your election your calling sure. You have to know that this is something that God has called you to do. It may not necessarily be to pastor, but even if you're leading, whether it be a youth ministry or a women's ministry or men's ministry, ushers or nurses, you're still working with a group of people for the overall whatever the purpose is, whatever the goal is that you have to work towards. And it's being able to gather that group, bring them together with one accord to achieve a goal. And everybody has their own way of doing it. But ultimately, you got to remind yourself that one, this is my role. I'm the leader. I'm called to do this. And ultimately, I have to do what's in the best interest of, I'll say, the church or the organization, if you're at work, the department, because you're all about achieving a goal. And how do we gather those individuals to go about reaching that? I'll put it that way. And if you are not the one that's patient or has that kind of ability to be able to do that, then maybe it's something you need to step back and reevaluate and ask yourself. Yeah.
And that's true because you do that. That's something that you do even with Sadaka, right? Because you have a phenomenal ability to pull people together to get a job done. And it's not just in your professional life, but it's even with Sadaka and whatever organizations that you are spearheading or working with, however it comes. But you find those that are able to work with you, but also work independent, but making sure that the goal and the mission and the
It's
vision
still.
gets
Mm-hmm.
done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is
Mm-hmm.
that something that is taught, or is that something that is innate?
Um, Honestly, I believe that I believe every last one of us have a gift that's inside of us. We have the innate ability to just be able to act on that gift. Some of us are called to lead, others are called to serve, others are called to sing, others are called to teach. They don't have to learn it, they don't have to go to school for it. It's just in them and it comes out. And I believe when you recognize what gift is operating in you, that you're able to flow in that gift seamlessly. I mean, and it's like second nature. Um, and the book of Romans speaks about those gifts. And there's a whole lot of us. If we better understood the gift that's operating in others, then we would better understand why they do what they do, why they're motivated by what they do, because it's the gift that's operating in them. When we don't understand it, so if I have a heart to serve, I love to do that. I don't have to be in the forefront. Whereas somebody who has the innate ability to lead people, they could
Right.
just do it. They're always in the forefront. They have the wisdom, the know-how. They can to solve, problems and issues right away where others gotta like think about it or
Think about it.
collaborate. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I think when we understand the gifts that are in us,
Right.
it helps us to know why the person acts the way that they do, whether it's good or bad,
Right.
because um, both the good and the bad, they work together.
They work
You know what I
together.
mean? You have your good side and your evil side, but
Right.
when they mesh, it perfects and it makes you do what you do, and you flow in it.
Right.
And I think that's probably that comes with teaching though. But for me, it just comes out.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to school to learn it. It just comes because it's in me. You know what I mean? Um,
But you watched.
Whereas,
But you watched others though. There are those
yeah.
that you watched lead, right? And there
Hmm.
are those that you watched lead well, and there are those that
Hmm.
watched lead not
Hmm.
so well, right? And
Right.
so, and we take from us that are being led, we take those lessons and we apply
Hmm.
them to
Hmm.
ourselves to help us to become who we're to become, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's something that you have a great ability to do, because even with those that come to work with you, you see their gifts and their abilities, and you direct them accordingly to get the jobs done for the overall, right? So
Yeah.
that it is really a team effort that you do. How do you identify those people though? How do you identify them in order to bring them
Hmm.
in order to help get the job done? Or identify like those that come and say, I want to help
Hmm.
you, right? How do you really get to know what their gifts are quickly,
Right.
right? So that they can, really be
Yeah.
that
Do what they got to
asset.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Now with that, I'm going to say experience
Okay.
is a factor. So I think because of my background in HR, you learn to study people, you learn to study behaviors. Um, and then for those that I'm very well acquainted with, from watching them, even if they're not people person, I know where to place them. And I
Okay.
think a leader's job is to be able to know the people that work under you so you
Yeah.
know where to place them. And when they're misplaced, that's when havoc tends to happen.
Yeah.
And so you have to make every effort to know the people that are working with you to get a job done, whatever the job is. And then when you have those that are coming in that you are totally not aware of, and I just experienced that. I I promise you, I was watching every last bit, every move that they would make, how they talk to people, um, when they're working with others that were on a team, and then working with those that were actually serving. And I watched, and immediately while I'm working and still watching, I paid attention. If I had to redirect, I redirect because I knew they weren't good with where they were. So I literally nicely, can you help me out over here? Because they weren't good with working with the people, and I didn't like the way they were talking to them. I immediately redirect them. So I'm paying attention to a lot because ultimately souls are at stake.
Yes.
And then when you see that, and that's just, I think, again, it comes with experience. And when you learn to be able to, and Jesus did the same thing. I mean, he did it with his disciples. He knew who he could trust. He knew to keep close to him. He knew which ones not to. He knew the one that was getting ready to betray him. He knew all of that. But he still kept everyone on target to work towards the common goal, whatever the purpose was, despite what he knew what the outcomes would be and what they were going to do. The ones that were going to, deny him 3 times. But he knew the end result. He knew the outcome. It didn't stop him from doing what he had to do. It didn't stop him from being their leader. He still led them. He still taught them. It's the same thing.
And he still loved them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he still loved them. Listen, we are out of time. I want to thank you for sitting down and having this conversation on today. But for those who want to know how to connect with you with helping with tzedakah or giving or whatever they want to do to connect with you, how can people connect with you?
So you can always feel free to reach me via email at tzedakahhouse@gmail.com. That's tzedakah, TZEDAKAH, tzedakahhouse @gmail.com, or tzedakahhouse@starsites.org. And that's the website there.
I want to thank you so much. And I can't wait till next month when we have our next conversation because this is helping so many. Yes. I so appreciate you. I thank you so much for sitting down and just helping us all in knowing how to lead those that sometimes aren't so leadable. Thank you so much. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on today. Listen, we have to lead no matter what. No matter what happens, we have to lead. And we have to lead with love. Because when we lead with love, we lead the right way. I'm Pastor Chira. This is the Pastor Chira Show. And I will see you next week. God bless.